Today's podcast is brought to you by Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance. Accidents happen. Without the right coverage from the right insurance company, damage to your automobile can be a real financial hit. That's why Kentuckians appreciate the competitive rates and personal service they get from Kentucky Farm Bureau Insurance. When the unexpected happens, count on us to help you get back on the road. To request a free quote, find your local KFB insurance agent at mykfbagent.com. Kentucky Farm Bureau, big on commitment. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
It's going good. We have some in common. Well, lots of things in common.
I was about to say, narrow it down, please.
We like baseball, but in particular, college baseball.
We do. And like people that, my man Todd Bright upstairs puts his Major League Baseball on. From day one on, it's on that TV in his office while he's working. That's just not my job. It's not Major League Baseball season until College World Series is over.
Yeah, the College World Series is excellent.
It's a great show on dirt.
Right. I was always sort of a baseball fan. And then I had a kid who plays baseball.
You have no choice now.
And now it's like it's what we do. So,
have you ever watched Ted Lasso with the guy that says football is life?
Yeah.
It's your kid. Baseball is life.
Baseball is life. So when he was little, you're trying to cultivate it. So we went to, like, U of L's gone to the College World Series. He's seen dog piles to go to the College World Series
also,
live.
Just side note, that is the stupidest thing ever. Awesome, hilarious. So many injuries.
It could
if you
totally get
Google
hurt.
the injuries that happen in baseball dog piles at like the regionals and super regionals before they get to Omaha, I'm like, stop dog piling.
No dog. Carter did a dog pile. He got to go to state.
Did he do okay? Did he come out okay?
If you watch the video, he was calculated. He was on top. Okay, he was running up to this thing and he was looking, and he just kind of danced a little bit. And then right at the end, jumped on top of
Maybe
everybody.
the safest one is the catcher. I think I'd just let him dive at the bottom.
Well, the problem...
They pile on him. He's got pads on.
The guy that gets it the most is probably whoever's pitching at that moment. That's not... You don't want that
We'd
guy
rather
hurt.
if he didn't get hurt.
Yeah. But, yeah, College World Series is happening. It's awesome. I think it's so like, people that don't watch it because they got in their head that, like, football's only a thing or basketball's only a thing. Like, you can watch college sports all year, and this is a great thing to watch. The super regional things, everything around college baseball is really fun.
It is fun. I'm a little miffed going into this one, though. I'll just warn you. So our friend, he's been on the podcast before, Jake Settles.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, he might have been the first episode. So if you shout out, go back. If you've been like, wow, I'm new to this, just scroll way back.
You can hear this guy.
Find out about Jake. He's great. So Jake found a wonderful lady named Shelby. We're very happy. They're getting married. This is great. When he tells me he is engaged, he, like, the whole group, we're all there going to like a concert or something, and they say it, and he looks me dead in the face and is like, it's October 10th. Sorry, Renee. And I look at Peyton and go, no, he couldn't have. He puts his wedding on the LSU UK game in Lexington. So strike one.
Strike one.
So we go to dinner, Jake. So we go to dinner, and the guys are like, what are we going to do for your bachelor party? Because all these guys are, And he's like, wouldn't it be fun to go to the College World Series? I'm like, that does sound really fun. I am not a dude. So I don't get invited to this bachelor party. So strike two. I'm like, well, this sucks. Then they're like, what if we, since we're out west, we go to a feedlot on the way to Omaha to see cattle. And then on the way back, Renee knows the guy at the Joplin Stockyards in Missouri, and we can go watch cattle sell at like one of the top 3 largest stockyards in the country with Renee's contact. Strike three. So now I just want you to know, for the entire weekend, I'm under protest. I think I should have been invited to this bachelor party. I don't think my husband would have enjoyed that. I don't know if my friend Jake would have enjoyed that, but I am going to literally watch them. They're probably going to get on the Jumbotron or on TV because this is how my life is going right now. And I'm going to be sitting at home.
It'll just rain.
What if it rained?
Just rain the whole time, and you're just in your living room.
Just cuddled up watching the World Cup while they're in the rain. They're just sitting there under a tent in a parking lot in Omaha.
Just in the rain. That's what you get for not inviting.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so unwell
I've never
about
gone
it.
to that. And
to a stockyard?
No. I have been to a stockyard. Never been to College World Series. And it's something my wife and I talk a lot about, like doing.
They say it's awesome.
Nothing else to do this time of year and just going, like, making it a thing, and just, if we care about a team. If not, whatever. One year, my son's travel team we got a text from the coach before the season starts. He's like, all right, I have a tournament idea. We can either go to Omaha during a College World Series. They have a tournament there.
That answer is yes.
When you see the crowd and there's all those boys with, that there's tournaments all over Omaha trying to feed and you get tickets to go to the thing. And
yes, that answer is yes.
And the other place was just go down to Panama City. That's a nice place. And everyone but Casey and I, my wife and I, voted to go to the beach. They were like, wait, let's go to the beach. And I'm like,
the beach whenever.
You can go to the beach whenever. I'm like, what are we doing? I was so mad. That would have been a whole lot of fun.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. They have the whole thing. It's like it's a College World Series. It's called that. Invitational something, and you go to that.
See, that's the
they have
ticket.
Like home run derbies and all this stuff. The boys get to meet the teams, and it's all connected to the series. So that was a real disappointment. They really blew it on that. Those parents all.
So College World Series kind of brings up some tough memories for both of us.
Yeah.
Specifically that we're not there.
Yeah.
So I think that's the end result. Oh my gosh, we should take the podcast to Omaha.
Let's do an Omaha. Yeah, I think that. I mean, it's totally a justified expense.
Yeah, I mean. There's got to be some baseball player on some team that grew up on a farm.
They're in Omaha, and they grow a lot of, products in that state.
In Nebraska.
And then
it's a pretty big ag state.
Yeah, it's a big ag state. And then there's food being eaten at the game.
And I bet it's meat and
it's
bread.
Meat and
Do you know what bread is made from? Wheat.
Wheat.
Why is wheat important today?
We have a big time wheat guy.
The wheat guy. He's the past president of the NOG.
Of the NOG, yeah.
Do you ever feel bad for people when they pronounce acronyms instead of saying the acronym? Like, nobody says KFB. Like, we just say KFB. I feel like NOG is one of those. We probably just should say NAWG.
Yeah. Like, it's funny at least. It's good. It's a good, way to just say it, I guess. But yeah, we got a great guest today. Came in a busy time.
It is like
for him to come in, and we really appreciate it. So,
Pat's great. He would also support. I feel like personally, us taking this on the road to Omaha.
He would have probably
He's
came
a big
with us
supporter.
and probably hit the.
Yeah, I mean, would it have been tough? Maybe, but he'd have done it for us.
He'd have figured it out. So yeah, but yeah, great guest today, and I think people will like that. He's going to give us some updates, get to know him a little bit, and should be good.
Yep, hear all things wheat. All right, without further ado, I'm Renee Carrico.
And I'm Matt Hilton.
Let's get rural. Yeah, we could have carpooled this morning, but then you'd have been stuck here till 5. I didn't think that's really what you wanted.
Probably not. Probably not.
So where are you from? Tell us a little about where you're from. What part of the world or part of Kentucky are you from?
Sure, I'm from Springfield, Kentucky.
Uh-huh.
I was born and raised there, and I like to. Now I'm at this stage of my life. I'm very proud to acknowledge that I've lived out of Springfield, Kentucky, for 6 college semesters in my entire life.
I love it. Well, Pat Clements with us, and this is a fun one for me. We were looking at the calendar, and I thought, okay, it's kind of getting to that time of year where we need to be talking wheat. And I don't know why it took us a minute to brainstorm, because I said, by gosh, we've got the past president of NOG right there in my home county. And so just for the listeners, just because it's fun, my in-laws have been doing business with your company, and now the Blandford Mills side, probably a little bit more on the livestock side in Springfield for years and years. And so getting to know Pat's been pretty easy. He sees me more on Saturday mornings, a little frantic because my husband forgot something before we work something than he does any other time. But we've snuck him up to Farm Bureau a few times now. So we're glad you're here.
Oh, well, I'm happy to be here. And yes, I can, again, I'm very proud of the fact that just as in you and your husband's instance, I'm dealing with the 3rd generation of farmers.
Yeah.
In Washington County. So it's very gratifying, and you do take good care of your cattle. They were out by the road as I went by a few days ago, and I noticed what a beautiful bunch of feeders, right?
Yep, we do a lot of feeders.
Yeah, they really you got a nice looking bunch of cattle out there.
Well, thank you. It's the nice thing about road frontage. If they ever look bad, people will also tell us, but yet to have that happen. So far we're doing good. Well, Pat, tell us about, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Clements Ag, but also kind of the farming side and what's gotten you kind of where you're at in the wheat industry. Talk through maybe kind of some of the farming side for you.
Sure. So my legacy was kind of my father farmed in the Lincoln Park community where we still farm, and he was a seed producer. And my mother's family were farmers, and they also got into the business of cleaning and marketing Kentucky 31 fescue back in the 50s. And from that led to the business that I'm in today, and we evolved into fescue cleaning was no longer a viable operation, so we just started assembling the entire line of farm products, feed, seed, and fertilizer, as the older businesses in town retired. And to get us through the summer, we kept our seed cleaning business, and that eventually evolved into just cleaning wheat seed for area farmers. And from there, we went on to help UK develop some public varieties. I've done some little small seed increases for them so that there's a public variety available that can be marketed fairly economically for cover crop and forage. And that became my interest in the wheat industry.
Yeah. So what year was that? How long you've been a part of that?
I've been in business this is my 49th spring.
Yeah.
And I've recently transitioned the ownership to a couple other parties, but that's working out real well, and I'm committed to helping them for 2 seasons or until they tell me to get lost.
Well, talk through. So you said cover crop, and I think that's normally. So I was actually just at a Southern region meeting. So a lot of my Southern counterparts, that's all they see wheat as, depending on what state they're in, and especially kind of that soil type and different pieces. Talk through. You lived through that transition to where in Kentucky it's not just a cover crop, and it's very important as that as well. But you've watched this industry actually develop. I mean, we have a small grain growers association in the state now, and this can be a cash crop. So maybe talk through, how was that? Did you believe it would happen when it started? Did it seem far-fetched, or did it just kind of naturally I think we've got the gunpowder to handle this?
Well, it was exciting to watch because it was a crop that I always loved. And for anybody listening who doesn't recognize wheat in the field, it will always have kind of the opposite color of the landscape around it. So here we are in June in Kentucky, and everything's lush and green, and the wheat is the golden brown, ripe amber waves of grain that we hear about. And in the winter, when everything else is brown, at least our winter wheat here in Kentucky, it will be the greenest, most lush-looking thing. So I always like to point that out to everybody. So it's a crop that really stands out. It's a beautiful crop, and it's a very sustainable crop. So as this evolved, I believe in the late 80s probably, one of the great farm supply leaders and innovators in Kentucky, the Miles family, was looking around over in England and observing their wheat production practices and inquiring about their yields, which were 1.5 to 2 times what ours were. And he is the one who spearheaded, after that, a tour of farm leaders to go over to England. They spent a week or so over there, I'm sure, and got a feel for how they do this. And it really came to be known as intensive wheat management. So instead of planting it and fertilizing it and harvesting it, you did probably some weed control in the fall, some insect control. You used seed that had been treated with some protectants from diseases and insects. You calibrated a drill based on seed count, trying to get a definite population per acre, as opposed to the old bushel and a half, And then when spring came, by then we had some really, really useful and safe and environmentally friendly herbicides that you could use to control garlic. Garlic had plagued the wheat industry in Kentucky for years and years because it made it unfit to use for flour. And it's a seed size that just can't be removed. So with that, it just kept advancing to where we're using fungicides, and we gradually just saw these yields come to right where they are today. And Kentucky's just really a hotbed of high, Western Kentucky in particular, of high yield, high quality wheat. So that in turn attracted the large miller down there, Seymour Milling Company. Mm-hmm. And that just made the whole system from start to finish work so much better with having a market nearby, and the Seymour Mill could depend on having a large amount of high-quality wheat right in that area.
Yeah, the first time I saw winter wheat, we did a story years ago, and yeah, you're right. You show up at a farm, and there's snow on the ground, and there's all this green.
Yeah.
You're like, nothing's green. There's these little green. Yeah, so that's a neat. I never heard that, but yeah, you're right. It's and also just I'm a video guy, so everything's about visuals. There's nothing better than a whole field of wheat and
at
blue
any
skies.
Stage.
And,
at any stage now or
right.
or in November.
Yeah, we've got some great footage of that, and it's an easy thing to shoot. It's beautiful. It's I think in some ways, to someone that doesn't know a lot about agriculture, it's kind of what they think. Maybe corn, but like the waves of grain, all that kind of stuff, especially in our country. So yeah, but I kind of laughed when you said that, because we went to this farm, and I didn't really know a lot. Again, this has been my life here at Farm Bureau. I was kind of learning ag as I go, kind of. And this was 10, 15 years ago. It's been a minute, but yeah, I get there and I'm like, man, how is this great? How is this alive this time of year? So yeah, that was pretty fun.
So I'm so glad you brought up Seymour Milling. And first off, they're a wonderful partner with us in Kentucky, whether it's our food checkout day with Farm Bureau or tours we're taking the young farmer groups out there. I mean, they're an incredible partner in Kentucky. And so I always appreciate when we do get a value add processor of any kind that really partners and takes hold of kind of the culture. But the part I really like about bringing up Seymour that I think, and I'm so fresh on what all these stereotypes from my Southern counterparts are, they think we grow wheat just for bourbon. Like, oh, you got bourbon, they need wheat, so your wheat is for bourbon. And I would argue, yes, that is an option, but it's not the same type of wheat. There's differences. So talk through, because you are in Central Kentucky where there is quite a bit of wheat going to some bourbon. Talk through maybe the differences in that piece and kind of that secondary or option of a market that some of our producers are having a chance at.
Sure, I'd be glad to. So, I mentioned that public variety that UK developed, and I helped them increase the seed. And a couple of times in the last 7 or 8 years, we've had 2 different varieties at one time or another. And in talking to one of the distilleries that's very near Washington County, they mentioned, well, we want to get a flavor profile on it. And I, being a wheat grower, and a bourbon drinker, but not a bourbon producer, I assumed, well, we're going to be 6 years. We can't hang on to this variety for 6 years to see if you like it. And he said, no. You bring a sample down. We're going to cook it under some controlled conditions, and in 15 minutes, we're going to tell you whether we like the flavor or not. Mm-hmm. So that was an amazing part to learn how quick they can do it. And it's so funny because many times we'll have a variety that just really suits us agronomically and looks like it's going to be a productive yield-wise, and you take it down there and they go, oh, no, man, but this thing's awful. and the opposite was true, too. We had one that we'll often go into 2 or 3 stages of increasing the seed before we decide, okay, we got a winner here, or we got to do away with this thing. Yeah. And I took them the one we were going to junk, and they said, no, we love it. We'll just take it and increase it ourselves and grow enough for our own use.
Wow.
So it's the use of wheat in bourbon has grown exponentially with the bourbon boom, but it was a late comer. Mm-hmm. So we've always been soft red wheat producers for the milling industry.
Right. Yeah, that helps to understand because, again, I think people think horses, bourbon, and so they think, oh, that's the only reason you're doing it. And I wouldn't say it couldn't be further from the truth. It's definitely a huge market, but it's that Seymour Milling piece, the milling side in general is very, very important. Okay, so as we're talking about this, I kind of teased on the Small Grain Growers Association. You now, and we talked about it, hopefully we're not making you miss your national call, but you are a past president of National Association of Wheat Growers. Excuse me, I got to remember what my acronym means. Uh-huh. Yeah. Talk through, how did you get, you've watched it become really a cash crop in this state, and now you're sitting on a national board. Did you ever see something like that in your future? Did you see like that's the goal, that's where I'm headed, or did it just naturally happen as you met people and talked and worked in this industry?
I think that probably goes back to the emphasis on leadership training that we have in Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And so you go through these programs, and I've been through several. Probably the first one, I believe I was in the original class of the Beef Cattle Leadership Group. Okay. And at that time, I was still playing a part in the Kentucky Seed Improvement Association, and that kind of led me into the Kentucky Small Grain Growers. And you're getting little bits of leadership training through all these organizations. And I know in my case, and I think in many, it isn't something you aspire to. I think it is something you feel a little bit called to, and perhaps your peers will recognize that let's give this guy a chance. Mm-hmm. I think he might have some potential. And I think it leads more to that than any. I have great passion for the wheat industry, and it was a natural for me, and I was very comfortable with it. But I don't think it's anything you aspire to. I think a little bit of fate along the way, and maybe the trust of your peers.
Yeah, I think that part's huge.
I think that's a lot of it.
Yeah, I think, and then the boom. I mean, I think as the wheat industry grew and those kind of things, there's lots of things that kind of all came together for this opportunity.
So you don't think of Kentucky as being a huge wheat producer, and we're not nationally, but we're an important player,
right?
And we've made contributions to the industry.
Yeah, and I think that probably leads into how has that been being a part of this organization and letting, even with what you just said, having Kentucky have a little bit of a voice in this world now and being part of that. How's that feel? Well,
it's the honor of a lifetime to lead a national commodity organization. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty elite group of people, you know. And it was a very challenging time at NOG because we were replacing our chief executive officer. And there was just a lot of meetings and a lot of turmoil in some areas, and took a lot of effort to keep the ship rolling. Mm-hmm. But it was very rewarding. And in the end, we came up with a great CEO. We actually plucked him from American Farm Bureau in D.C. Mm-hmm. Sam Kiefer, who's been in this building. And
he's been on this podcast.
He's been on this podcast. Yeah. Okay, great. So, yes, he was a good story for his memories of Louisville. Of course, we plan meeting locations 2 and 3 years out, but the first one that he's in charge of or being involved in picking, he called me and he said, "What do you think about coming back to Louisville?" He said, "I always had a good time there."
Well, I don't know what that means, but we're proud of it.
That's right. It's better than him not wanting to come back, right, Renee?
Absolutely, yeah. We won't say how he had fun. I'm sure there were quite a bunch of good tours. We want him to take that 15 minutes of that cooking to make sure it's the right kind of wheat, too. You know, we'll do what we got to do.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
no, Sam's a good one.
It was a great time. It was a great time. I tell everybody that and everybody relates to it, it was a very quick year with some very long days.
Yeah.
It's a good way to say it.
Yeah. That's how those kind of things go. You look back and you're like, that felt fast. And they're like, but it didn't feel fast some days. You know?
There was more than one sleepless night.
Yeah, I bet.
So, and I didn't warn you on this one, but I know you're ready for all things. What I think is one of the cool parts that I learned as I've lived in Springfield and started seeing you, whether that was on a Facebook post at a national meeting in D.C. or running into you in Frankfurt, I think we talk about this a lot, and I've probably repeat this every other podcast. It's Matt's line, but it's so important for a farmer to say yes. Because if you don't say yes, who's going to say yes instead? And are they going to have that same thought process and honest and true opinion of what's going on the farm? You have said yes many times, and whether it's testifying, whether it's just being in the back of the room answering somebody's question, talking to them before they go in, on a lot of different stages on a lot of different issues. So can you talk through maybe, and some of it I'm sure is the leadership training and what you've done for a living, but kind of having the confidence or maybe some of the issues that you've helped work on that you were like, wow, this was incredible that we got to have this kind of impactful voice, or that this person in this leadership role had the want to talk to Pat Clements from Kentucky. I mean, kind of talk through that thought process for me.
I don't remember who told me this very early in my career, Renee, but I remember complaining about some government policy and asking the question, I wonder how the hell this got this way. And they said real quick, it got that way because someone wanted it that way, and they went and made sure it went their way. Mm-hmm. And that just stuck with me over the years, that if we want to protect our views and have them heard, then we're going to have to be that person who shows up because we wanted them our way. Mm-hmm. And stop some people from getting them their way that doesn't line up with our views.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Like the air that's getting filled by some voice will be filled.
Yes.
You know, like
yes.
She's talked about it a lot. I get asked in particular to do a lot of media training. What I look for in an interview, because I do all these interviews, and so often those groups that I'm talking to already are like kind of vetted teams. You know, it's like our lead group, or it's a commodity group from another organization. It's your department, your division.
We literally just trained ours.
But these are all these people that have been, in some ways, been kind of asked to talk, asked to step up. And why not, right? And, something that I always heard was like, how many times the idiot talked instead? And like, why'd you talk to them? And I was like, because they said yes. And so often that's what agriculture likes to stay in the background a lot of times. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you got to get out front of things. And,
absolutely.
And then you can't complain if you didn't do nothing. And something bad, something you didn't want happens. Well, you could have been a part of that. And there's so many organizations. Obviously Farm Bureau does it, but there's so many organizations that you can find your niche, your little moment where you can do that. And so, we've always encouraged it. That's always, it's a big part of Farm Bureau is encouraging people to advocate in different ways. But you're right. Like, if you want something, I love the line you had there. It's like, if you want something to happen, that somebody wanted something to happen, they made it happen.
They did.
Right,
they did. Right. But I brag to my other states and fellow national people that I serve with, what an influence you all are here in Kentucky, and what a good job you all do. Hmm. And someone asked me, about an issue, so you think that would fly in Kentucky? And I said, well, I wouldn't say you have to have Farm Bureau for you, but we're certainly going to make sure they're not against us or we're wasting our time.
That's probably a good way of looking at it, yeah.
I can't take it as a compliment.
That's a compliment.
It is meant as a compliment. And nothing else.
Yeah. We have been told before, Kyle has said this, and I don't know if it's been on the podcast or just, off to the side with a group, but he has been thanked for Farm Bureau being neutral, which is hilarious to me because Kyle doesn't get to make that decision. This policy book from our members does, but he will tell someone, he's like, we're really not, we're neutral. We don't have policy. And they're like, oh, thank God.
Yes.
And it's so funny, but it really does show you what 400,000 members voting on a policy book means to people.
That's right.
And the flood of calls. And I think we saw that this spring with the failure to warn legislation.
We did. Yeah.
I've spent a few days taking a lot of questions on that because we're only one of 3 states in the entire country that were successful. Georgia, Kentucky, and North Dakota. You couldn't have 3 more different types of ag, different setups of legislature, different dollars in the, in the kitty for what those states can handle. And all 3 found a way to be successful. And I'll tell you, we had a thought and the members called and it got done. And I know you're one of them. And so I appreciate you, and a shout out to you and your groups and your farmer friends that did that.
Yeah. And it's been fun for me to make fun of, there's a couple of officers whose states couldn't even get it through. And I've really been rubbing it in their face.
Yeah. It's one of the examples. So often, I think the farmers put in our hands to do some of that work.
They
right?
do.
And that's the day-to-day, what Kyle and his gang do, what our board does, those kind of things. That's fine. But sometimes we have that. I see Kyle throw it right back. No, seriously, I need you all.
You got to be the one to call.
We really need you all to do this time. And that was one where you really saw that power, which was pretty cool. It doesn't happen all the time, and that's a credit to what I think Farm Bureau does. Other organizations have done pre-work, but sometimes that works way better. You know, as a media guy, I talk about like the regular farmer speaking to these issues is way more effective sometimes than having Eddie Milton, our president.
Yeah, and yesterday's roundtable was a good example of that. Commissioner Shell wanted to make sure that the farmers and the farmer leaders in the room got heard from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so talk through that for me. We talked before we started recording. I know you got a chance to talk to some undersecretaries, and we don't have to go into detail about who and all their titles because I think I've got both of their bios, and they're lengthy, which is incredibly impressive. But I don't expect you to have it memorized. Talk through, though, from a national perspective, you said that you guys talk once a week with your board, and then obviously you've got Sam in that CEO position helping you. What kind of big topics from y'all's perspective at NOG was kind of top of your brain when you have a chance to meet with these federal guys to talk through opportunities or making sure things don't happen? What kind of were y'all talking through?
Sure. So beef cattle were there, corn, soybeans, wheat were there, forestry was there, sheep, pork, everybody, all those representatives got a chance, specialty crops, young men for specialty crops. And so the two undersecretaries that were there, Undersecretary Fordyce, who I've met with several times, and is actually a Missouri farmer, and, of course, Representative Lucas Lindbergh, who is the nominee and likely will become the head of Food for Peace. And so the points for wheat that I wanted to go over, I'd gotten a little training from Sam there on a call yesterday morning. So Food for Peace was originally a way to purchase, the government purchase excess farm commodities and ship them to needy countries. And it evolved over the years into sometimes sending cash, sometimes sending a lot of ultra-processed foods of all things. So this has been, and a lot of those things wind up in the black market in these countries. You got to acknowledge that there's going to be some slippage. And even whole grains will too, but not to the extent that something can be sold like candy bars or trading cash of all things. So we got to make that point. And also got a chance to congratulate Secretary Lindbergh for being able to get Food for Peace out of the State Department and under the hands of USDA, who are much more qualified to gather, transport, and distribute commodities. They have much more expertise for that. Secretary Fordyce is over a lot of things that are farmer-facing, particularly FSA. So, I'd say his big job is they're getting ready to divvy up I think they're going to pass out about 30 million more base acres sometime in the future. He also was very clear, and he understood the issue that's facing wheat farmers. A lot of the carbon-based programs right now have previously not given credit to what a Kentucky wheat farmer is already doing. Mm-hmm. So his emphasis is to try to get only what you are doing now on your score, not what you did last year or 20 years ago. So Kentucky farmers, we have a double crop system here. We harvest wheat, we plant soybeans. Mm-hmm. We've done it for years. We need for that harvested wheat crop to get credit as being a cover crop because it is one of the greatest. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And in fact, the bulk of my wheat seed business is based on distributing cover crops, which we've sent over the years, depending on the need. We ship Kentucky-grown cover crop seed, wheat seed, into every adjoining state.
Wow. And
it's not unusual for that to happen. So we know how to play the game. Mm-hmm. But wheat farmers that harvest grain have to have credit, just like the guy who decided last year that, there's some money out here, I'm going to start doing cover crop. Mm-hmm. So he's very clear of what our needs are. He understands the issue, and I think he knows how to get it done.
Excellent.
Those are the two main things for us.
Very
I love...
And, of course, ethanol for the corn producers and SAF, Sustainable Aviation Fuel, for the soybean folks. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Exports and imports for the beef cattle guys,
Yeah.
So, yeah. No, that's incredible.
Everybody
I love
has an issue.
Farmer-first conversations like that. And that's kudos to the commissioner. It's kudos to the undersecretaries for being willing because a lot of times they say they're coming. and then we give them a list of people, but they have every right to say, no, we only want this or this. So them being open to talk to farmers being first in the room, I think that's incredible. So
give Jonathan Shell some credit for that, our commissioner.
Excellent. So speak to the industry right now. How's the crop looking? How's harvest going? From your view, how's it going out there?
Okay, so we have overall, I think we have a good wheat crop yield-wise. The early harvested stuff down in western Kentucky, we've got some really severe issues with something called falling numbers, which is a measure of the baking yield and quality. And they're getting some huge dock on that right now. I think the millers and the farmers and some of the plant breeders are already discussing ways to try to resolve the issue. But we've got problems there. This rainy spell right in harvest that we're having, that's a big issue. Wheat quality goes down with each rain event. That's going to be a problem for us. So it's not the greatest time.
Yeah.
And, of course, prices always an issue right now. But we're going to be a challenging season, I think. Getting quality wheat in the bin is going to be a problem for us. So we've got a work cut out for us.
For those that don't grow wheat, and I don't mean to keep like hammering down on the sour note, but I think when we talk high input costs, we always talk about, the ones people see or they think through the most, and it's always corn and beans. That's the two they think about a lot. From an input perspective, help people understand, and you did a little bit when we were talking about the transition, talking through managing it like that England style when it came over. But today's wheat producer doing it for a cash crop, what does that input increase look like? Or how many inputs do they put on a regular crop? So people can maybe understand, because I think sometimes we look at a price, and I do this explanation constantly right now. You look at a grain price or you look at a commodity price, and it looks like it hasn't dropped that hard. And then I have to explain how much the inputs have gone up or how much different pieces have gone up. And so maybe give the wheat production perspective of that for the listeners.
Sure. So in back to the intensive wheat program, I told you that we used to make 3 trips through the field, one to plant it, one to fertilize it in the spring, and one to harvest it. We now make, with just a spray applicator, assuming we're using some liquid fertilizer products in the spring, we make 5 passes over the field. And that's just with the spray rig. So then we still got planting and harvesting to get through with that. So, of course, everyone's fertilizers kind of captured the spotlight. And just doing the rough math here in my head as I watch things go up, if your fall fertilizer costs would have been fairly reasonable. But when we got to spring, urea prices jumped, $50 when we nabbed, $50 a ton when we nabbed Maduro out of Venezuela.
Yeah.
And then when we attacked Iran, they went up. I'll give you something that was pretty dramatic. It shows you what a shock it was to the system. I believe our Iran attack occurred overnight on a Friday. And on Saturday morning, you never get fertilizer industry news on Saturday morning.
Right.
On Saturday morning, we were getting emails and texts from all of our suppliers saying all pricing is suspended.
Oh, wow.
As of this moment, and any quote you had yesterday is no longer valid.
Wow.
So for the most part, it took until, I think by Tuesday, late Monday, early Tuesday, you could at least get a price quote. But it was $100 to $200 higher. And before all that event was over, urea prices had just about gone up 125 to 150%, over double at one point. Wow. And so one of the big items that drove it up, of course, nitrogen prices are based around energy, but they're also based around production facilities running. And the largest urea production facility in the world is located in Qatar. And they shut down as a precaution, which drove the market up. And then their natural gas supply got disrupted due to some bombings and things, and they couldn't reopen if they wanted to now. So those types of things. Then the other thing everybody needs to think about, just as we fill up our gas tanks to get back and forth to work and perform our duties, a farmer has huge fuel needs for the harvest and trucking back to the source of, or to market. Those things, and he fills his pickup truck 2 or 3 times a week too.
Right.
Those kinds of things have just really knocked the industry on its heels, profit-wise.
Right. I just think it's helpful for people to understand. I have heard somebody say, well, at least the fall guys did okay, and they forget about that spring app.
Yeah.
And so it's and listen, as someone who owns cattle that bought a quarter of my group and before the new year, and then the rest of it after, everybody said, "Wow, you're fine. You bought those before the first of the year." It's easy to make a joke until you remember the other part. Of everyone got hit in some way.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of really understanding what that hit was. And the thought is, from a retailer perspective, and I'm not making you put your retailer hat on, but I think a lot of people were like, well, they won't even quote me or they won't even honor that price. Hearing you say you got an email on a Saturday that said everything yesterday's null and void, we'll be back, let you know soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a wild seat you were in to have to tell farmers that are showing up on a Saturday morning to pick things up.
Sure.
How are you going to manage moving that? So, I mean, it's an incredible thought to put yourself in another person's seat in the system. Just think it through.
Yeah, sure. I'll give you a wild scenario. It's a pretty bizarre one, but it was an example of how disruptive this thing was. And I got this from the NOG officer in Kansas. A gentleman had come to a terminal and was filling his liquid 5,000-gallon tanker up. And the terminal operator came out, this was a co-op somewhere in Kansas, and said, "You got to stop right now." He said, "I realize you're just half full," but he said, "You need to know, we have to tell you that the second half of your load will have an increased price."
Oh, my gosh.
While he's
I can't imagine.
While you're filling it.
While you're filling your load. Yeah.
Whoa.
So that is how, and those people may have been in a position where their supplier called and you could have consigned product and they call and say, "Hey, our previous agreement is null and void and it's another $100 a ton." So that was the most bizarre thing I heard.
That's unreal.
But there were a lot of people who suffered pretty hard, stuff like that. That'd be the most extreme case. But plenty of people, when they came back the next day for a second load or something, they said, "No, here's the deal here. It's another 100 a ton."
Wow.
Well, one more question, and then I do want to make sure we're respectful of time. When you just told a story from Kansas. I think I was interested when you said y'all talk weekly. So maybe how its harvest is going or what stage all these other states are in as well that are maybe the bigger quote-unquote players in the wheat game. I do think it's interesting. Sometimes we feel like we're just word of mouth. Somebody on Facebook said cattle sold higher in this state than my state, or somebody said they're dry over there, and then you get on Facebook and the guy right down the road got 4 inches of rain. You're like, maybe not anymore. So from a perspective where you actually are talking to people weekly that are in those areas, what's the rest of the country look like when it comes to wheat this year?
I know that 2 weeks ago, my fellow officer from Colorado told me that his crop insurance agent had already been to inspect the crop and released it, said, "We're going to pay you out a full payment. There's nothing to harvest, so don't bother harvesting."
Oh, wow.
Okay. And I know that that occurred also to my fellow officer in Kansas. I personally have some family in Texas, and I'm down there quite a bit. And that was the worst looking wheat I have ever seen in my life in a spot that I have been driving by every year for 10 years.
Wow.
And locally, I know that we've had some pretty severe freeze damage. I don't know of anyone who's been released to not harvest, but I know that I have been in a couple of those fields, and it's pretty rough.
Yeah.
Pretty rough.
Yeah. I don't want to say I want to end on a positive note, well, it could be worse in other areas, but I do think, I don't know, guys around here on the cattle, and I always go to the cattle side, but they're like, "Man, these bred heifers are expensive." And I'm like, yeah, well, there's ranches in, Iowa that they're having to sell out because they haven't gotten any rain, or, guys in Montana that they're selling cows, good cows.
Yes.
So it's a little bit, I don't want to say like, oh, you should feel better because somebody has it worse. That's not what I mean. But sometimes the perspective does help you get through another day of harvest, is remembering some people just got told there ain't nothing there earlier than they've maybe been told in a long time. So,
but this brings out the importance of our safety net and our crop insurance program, and why we're always working for little tweaks into that there's a few spots that get missed for one reason or another, technicalities, but this is really brings out the importance of the safety net programs as well as the crop insurance program.
Very good point.
Yeah. We appreciate your voice in all this through the years and continuing to do that, and obviously bringing your voice in here to this room today for a podcast. So we do appreciate your work that you've done. Yeah. Thank
you all for all the things that you do, and thank you for having me.
Yep.
Yeah. Just for the listeners to know, we are going to put a link to the Small Grain Growers Association, their Facebook page, and then we'll go ahead and put NOG's link to their website as well. So if you're curious about anything that Pat talked about and you're like, man, I'd love to dig in some more, or see some of the families that I know that are harvesting wheat this time of year, those might be featured on some of those. So we'll link those at the bottom. But anyway, thank you, Pat, and thank you, listeners. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and listen to some of those older episodes. And we'll see you next time on Let's Get Rural.